All right, welcome everybody to this very special episode of the Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I am Anthony Ewing, a partner here at Thoughteum, and I am with a legendary and iconic guest of the Navigating Now show, Jim Graziano, and we're filming live at JP Graziano's in the West Loop, Chicago. And what an incredible opportunity for us to sit down and reconnect. Jimmy, so good to see you.
So good to see you as well, Anthony. Appreciate the friendship, appreciate the longtime support. And anytime you send me a message or come calling, I'm always happy to answer it. So very happy to have you here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So as I was walking in about 30 minutes ago to get set up, I asked Jim, how is the day going? And your answer is about as consistent as it always is around 2:30 in the afternoon on a weekday. He said, we just sold out of bread.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, you were on the show about 18 months ago, and we were talking a little bit about the evolving business model at JP Graziano's. And you said our business model does not change. You said, we sell sandwiches till the bread runs out, and then we go home to our families. Is that still true today?
It's very true. We obviously try not to run out of bread, but sometimes they just hit you. And on a day like today where it's not all that nice out, the sun hasn't even peaked out for the day, and you're still able to kind of get through the day's worth of bread. It's a good day. So, and it's all credit to the amazing city of Chicago that always shows up to help out the little guy, and away we go. So good stuff.
You also told me as we were walking in a little bit of an anecdote about how you were helping one of your community members be put on, in front of his friends. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of hacked Twitter this past week.
I don't know if I have a hack. The thing with any social media, obviously, is to just stay as involved and engaged as possible. Consistency is key for something like that. And then really, in the particular case that you're talking about, it's latching on to somebody that I feel is real Chicago. We were helping out a guy from White Sox Twitter world kind of win a fan voting contest for best White Sox personality. And it's a longtime customer of mine, somebody that really supports what we do. And my father always taught me, one hand washes the other, both hands wash the face. And when you take care of me, I take care of you. That's how we do it around here. So, and he won the championship last night, which is it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's and just the power of the JP Graziano's brand, but more so the community that you've developed here. I also understand anybody who voted for this gentleman got a free cannoli.
They did for one of the rounds within like the last hour or so, because we did need a pretty big push, but. You start throwing cannoli around and people start to pay attention. So it worked, and it helped them carry them into the championship, and they got the job done last night. So it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, what a great combination of like the old world and leveraging new world technology and systems to continue to perpetuate your community. And that's what today's session show is all about. It's about community. Jimmy, you and this place have a near and dear spot in my heart, as it does anybody who lives within what we call our 6-block radius here in the West Loop, Chicago. I moved to the West Loop about 15 years ago, but I'm a lifetime Chicagoan. And to see an organization, a shop, and a group of people like this not only survive, but thrive for what is now almost 100 years, 100 plus, right?
No, not quite. Close.
Yeah,
85 years in June.
Yeah.
85 years in June.
So today's episode is 100 years of community, which means we're talking about the present and the future of building the community here at JP Graziano's. But for you to be such a mainstay in this neighborhood and such a mainstay in Chicago is extremely special. And for folks like myself, we gravitate towards places that we know and we love and we trust, and particularly people that we know and love and trust as well too. And you've just been that for us. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to over the course of the last 18 months, because the last time we were on the show, it was about, how you were shifting to accommodate your customers who couldn't walk into, these hallowed grounds the way that we always love to. Yeah. But I also understand that you've had one of the better years that you've had in quite some time. So tell us what you've been up to over the last 18 months.
Yeah. So, I guess a lot has happened, and COVID, for as weird as it is to say, treated us well. 2020 was a very, very good year for us. 2021 beat out 2020, and 2022 is off to a really great start, just knocking out this first quarter. I really think what we sell here, right? What the business is, obviously on the outside, it's just a sandwich shop, but what we sell is realness of Chicago, and we sell a slice of real Chicago history, and it's really all based around the relationships that you have with your customers, with the community that supports you and around you. And I feel that the brand has been able to grow to a point where that's more important than what they're coming for. Yes, of course, we back it up with a great product, and it's as fresh as can be, top quality products, but people, I think in any industry, kind of yearn for that realness. And so anything new that I do or try to do centers around that. And within the last 18 months, last year was a really fun year. We did our first collaborative clothing drop with Joe Fresh Goods, who's an enormous personality and a very, very dear friend of mine in the shops. And we got together with a friend of his, Freddie Gibbs, who performed at Lollapalooza, and we did a really great hoodie and a shirt, and we threw a party at midnight and pretty much took over the whole block. I mean, there was a line down to Washington for that. We hooked up with some very good friends of ours. The company name is Yenta Fina, Manny and AB, who are doing really, really well. Did an awesome, old school Harlem Avenue Italian bomber coat that sold out really, really well. And then a lot of food collaborations that we kind of try to do now once a month on a Thursday night to highlight our walk-up window. And really this year I concentrated on the community. So we did one with a dear friend of ours for a charitable cause for a medical condition that he has. And then the rest of the year is going to be involving Rosemary and Forno Rosso and El Che, and really my tight neighbors, because that's what makes this neighborhood what it is. And it's a lot of fun. So it's, there's a lot of things going on. I also branched off the Jardinera business into its own LLC, because that's really grown quite well with online sales and local distribution. And we just keep running it, man. It feels like that furnace that as long as you keep feeding it, it's gonna keep the heat running. So that's what we're doing every day.
Yeah, and I noticed your Rosemary hat.
That was not intentional.
I
realized that.
I noticed that because I think that also is just a testament and a sign to you supporting your local community, right? This is another up and coming restaurant just down the street, and the partnerships that you've been able to strike both informally and formally with other restaurants, other shops in the local area, is really a big part of your brand and a big part of the way you're developing community. Whereas you would think that most folks maybe keep to their own, or maybe even see that as a little bit of a competition. Right. You see that as an opportunity to expand.
I do. That's what makes a community, Anthony, and it's not an original thought of mine. That's what I got to see when I was 9-10 years old, and my dad started bringing me down here. And this was the market, right? And there was a lot of places that sold dry goods like us, different ethnicities, fruit and vegetables, restaurant supply, your butchers, your fish guys. And in one way, they were direct or indirect competition. But what I saw was these guys worked with each other, because if the guy across the street, the guy down the block, if he was doing well, you were doing well, and it attracted more people to the neighborhood. I remember when Rick Bayless opened up across the street, he has Leda Brava and Cruz Blanca. Somebody asked me, God, aren't you nervous that Rick Bayless has a restaurant right across the street from you? And I said, no, I'm not nervous. I'm really excited, because he's going to draw so many people to this neighborhood. You can't eat a sandwich every day. You can't eat a taco any day, fill in the blank. And people are going to see our shop, and eventually they're going to come in. And then it's on us to kind of set that hook and develop a long customer. And what has always made me feel really good about this neighborhood, even though aesthetically it could not be more different than what it was when I grew up, and in the good old days, as they would call them, is that, that sense of community, that we are in this together. I want everybody to be doing well down here. It's going to make this neighborhood sustainable. And it's not going to be a flash in the pan. That can happen sometimes when you have a really big buildup in a short period of time. And our neighbors are part of what keeps this neighborhood rolling. And when a place opens up, I bring them a couple trays of sandwich, give them a proper welcome to the neighborhood. And I think you get a lot more out of that than being salty in any corner way that somebody's opened up on your block. And if they're stealing customers from you, it's probably because you're not holding up your end of the deal. So it keeps you sharp and it keeps you motivated. And I just think that's the right way to go about it, man.
Yeah. Last time we talked, you said something that I think really resonated with our community. You talked about, we were asking you about how you've been able to thrive with the West Loop turning over several times over the last few decades. And you said that I paid attention to what worked with the previous generations and I've pulled that forward.
Yeah.
And, back in the day, as you mentioned, there was a fish guy, there was a meat guy, there was a supply guy, and you all kind of paid attention to each other. You all made sure that you stopped and you said hello in the street. And I think that's what's happened a bit over the last 18 to 24 months with everything that's changing in the world, is we're paying a little bit more attention to those that are in our immediate vicinity. And including the relationship I have with you, the friendship that I have with you was really reignited because at the heart of the pandemic, when your doors were closed, early in the morning, I would walk by the side of the shop and you would always stop and say hello. And you had about a million other things to do, but it was that sense of accountability to each other, you being the sandwich guy and me being the consulting guy, I guess, but I could be the produce guy. And just stopping and having that accountability to each other and having those discussions. Do you think that our world has gotten smaller in the last 18 months?
I think people have, I don't know if this world ever gets smaller because it feels ever expanding, but the relationships, I think the emphasis that people put on relationships has really come into focus for everybody. Everybody kind of got twisted upside down for a while early on there, and you didn't know left from right. And what you were able to fall back on was those real relationships that you had, people who really cared for you and kind of kept tabs on you, and you the same for them. And I think that's what, thankfully, has kind of been a refocus of a lot of people, business-wise, personal relationship-wise. You need a supporting cast behind you, and it's also your intent. It's why you do things, and it's not I don't say hi to you when you walk by because I know you're going to buy some sandwiches this month. I say hi to you and I ask you how you are because I really I have that concern for you, and you are a buddy of mine, and thankfully I'm able to do that with quite a few people in this neighborhood. And
what a responsibility.
But it's real, right? I always come back to that word. And if I'm shoveling snow after a day, or we're cleaning up or bringing in more bread, you see a lot of familiar faces, and it's not a, hey, how you doing? And just to say it, you really mean it. And there's been plenty of people along the time that, we've had some, you could tell something's going on with their day, and you have a good serious conversation with them. And I think you get a lot out of that as well. And there's plenty of times that I need a serious conversation. And when you put that out, I think it comes back to you. And that's the wheel that kind of always keeps spinning. So it's important.
I appreciate that. And let's maybe marry the old and the new, because if, 15 years ago, when you were just getting underway with really focusing on sandwiches, it was all about selling sandwiches and making sure that the in-store experience and the catering experience was great. Now you're starting to venture out a little bit in your community. You're starting to develop community through alternative channels like brand deals and promotions. You're doing Lollapalooza after parties and custom hoodies that are selling out in less than an hour. How do you balance the old school with the new school? And are you selective with some of these new channels that are maybe coming to you and saying, hey, we want you to get involved? How do you prioritize that?
Yeah, you have to be a bit selective. Obviously, I like to talk, Anthony, right? And I'll sit down and have a cup of coffee with anybody. But you do have to be a bit selective. You have to be protective of your brand. And I don't think that there's any real technical thing I do. I'm a trust your gut type of guy. And you kind of just give something a sniff test. And for all the changes we've made, the things that I didn't change, I think were the most important decisions that we've made. And you just have to be able to be very true to your brand and what people expect from you. And, I've been doing this for a long time, man. And I talk to a lot of people, and you're a salesman as well. And you can pick up on people kind of right away with a quick conversation. And if they pass the kind of real Chicago test that I like to kind of put up there, we go for it. And that's what it's all about here, man. It's just staying real true to to the brand that the generations in front of me built. And that's it. It's, you do your due diligence, you do your homework. But any kind of major decision I ever make, whether it's hoodies or branching off into a new business, I get by myself and I get some quiet time, and you just listen to your inside, and then you trust it, because I think that inside voice never lies to you.
Oh, I love that. You know, we have so many very detailed conversations with different business leaders, and sometimes we as leaders can overcomplicate things, over-engineer things. And so, there's part of you that would love to hear that you've got this, 2 to 3 year roadmap with all of these different plans, but at the end of the day, like, you're trusting your gut.
I don't.
And that's what has survived for 83 years. That's absolutely incredible.
I think that's what works. There was never a business. I remember after my dad passed, and distribution's still around, sandwiches are growing, but not standalone yet. And somebody said, let me take a look at your business plan. And I was like, business plan? My business plan is to feed my children. That's that's the business plan. And, but when you have it all on the line like that, I think that's the biggest fire you ever need. And I have a deep appreciation for people who are formally educated in this, such like yourself. And those words do stick to heart. But I think at the end of the day, if you analyze something very professionally, or if you just, kind of wing it like I do a lot of the times, trust in your gut goes a very, very long way. And so far, so good. And I'm just going to keep rolling that way.
I love that. Tell us about your team. I know that is literally what keeps this place running.
Oh, yeah.
And we absolutely love your sister Deanna, who's here, and she's a big part of the experience. She's right over there. We're saying hello to her.
Working away.
Tell us about your team. It's a really special group here.
It's a special group of guys, and of course my sister is. This place does not run without Deanna, and she always tosses me all the accolades about anything that happens. But anybody who's in and out of this shop knows what Deanna means to this place. And of course, my longest tenure guy, Oscar, who actually hired, I believe we had this conversation the last time, the day my father had passed. He's been here for the 14 years at the end of this year. What's special that you look for a certain type of person, and along the way, I would just look for people. I need 2 pair of hands, and we're just going to make a bunch of sandwiches, and we're going to teach you along the way. And then I realized how important it is, you can't teach somebody a personality. You can't really teach somebody to really care and to buy into what you're trying to provide every day. So then you start to look for those qualities. And I could teach anybody how to slice a sandwich, make a sandwich, wrap a sandwich. You can't teach people to care. So you look for those qualities in people, and then you take it from there. And these guys know that the success of this place really balances on the amount of work that they do, and they run through walls for me every single day, and they're very well taken care of for that. And it's nothing, when you got it good, it's nothing that anybody holds over each other's heads. It's a pure relationship. It's a two-way street. You take care of me, I take care of you. One hand wash the other, both hands wash the face, and then everybody gets to where they want to go. And it's that's an incredible important part to this, because in the stage of the game that I'm at, where I'm not necessarily here every single day like I used to be for a ridiculous amount of hours, and trying to grow other parts of the business and grow the brand. That old adage is you can't, if you want to grow, you can't work in your business, you have to work at your business. And when you have the backing of the team that we do, they allow me to step away and kind of develop and grow the other parts of it. And I don't have the concern of, God, I hope they're talking to people the right way, and I hope they're keeping the quality up. I know that it's there, and I don't have, it took me a while, because I felt like, I remember saying, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. And it's a very small-minded way, I think, of thinking. If somebody doesn't do something right that works with you or for you, it's probably because they weren't trained correctly. So that is something that you have to kind of look in the mirror about, and not all the time, but most of the time. So it's more me than them. And then once you kind of get that, and it's like, you don't have to say every single word I say. You don't have to do exactly how I do. We know the end mission. As long as we get to that point, be you. Let your style and your personality kind of take over. And it's proven now for a few years. And I know if I'm here or not, everything is going to get run the same way.
Yeah. I mean, just some incredible words from Jimmy Graziano's. We're here live at JP Graziano's. And what a just great opportunity to connect. Jimmy, you always have like the right nuggets. And I think it's those very simple truths that you speak and that have probably been handed down to you from generation to generation. That is what makes this place so special. And I will go back to your team and some of the things that you said about, you know, leading an organization and the ability to step away, the ability to pull away, and the ability then to trust your team. I can tell you year over year over year, whether I walk in knowing that you're going to be behind the desk or your sister or anybody else, I have the same feeling. Like I know it's going to be the same experience when you walk in here. And that's something you've been able to strike that is extremely special. It's oftentimes, and you probably have peers that run other small businesses that can't get away from behind the counter. Right. And that's what stunts the growth. So just really, really appreciate those insights. Yeah, let's wrap up with a couple kind of final questions. Let's talk about the future, and maybe not necessarily where you all are going from a business perspective, but what does the Graziano community look like 5 or 10 years from now? Is it more expansive? Or are you doing, you know, different partnerships and deals, or are you still keeping what is so special here, which is really like this 6-block radius and beyond?
Yeah, you know, sandwich shop wise, I'm good on any kind of expansion. You know, to me, this is the heart of the neighborhood. This is the heart of what we are. I really want to concentrate on just continuing those relationships, growing them with, you know, a lot of new people moving into this neighborhood all the time. The growth aspect to me is really, I think, in the Jardinera and the brand, and where we can go with that, with online sales, local distribution, and I think we can get into, you know, regional kind of growth and expansion as well with what I like to call the Chicago condiment. So that's where my focus on. And then, you know, my daughter's 9, my son's 5, and I like to this is the ages you start to teach these really important lessons. Yeah. And I'm lucky to have that warehouse where we do all the Jardinera out of now. That's walking distance from my home. And, you know, on the weekends, on Sundays, I get the kids over there for a little bit and we pack up some boxes and they start to get the stories that my father told me. And
because you were sweeping floors here at like 7 years of age.
9 years old. Yeah. And, you know, my daughter rolls her eyes at me when I tell her the stories, and I used to do that to my dad, so I know it's getting in there. But it's really just starting to develop the appreciation for something as simple as like the most important lesson I ever learned here. My father told me, if people don't walk through that door, we don't put shoes on our feet. And it sounds a little ridiculous on the outside, but then when it's you and you're the one who's providing for your family, man, no truer words have ever been spoken. And then I have to teach my children all these really important lessons. And thankfully, my wife really understands how important that is and agrees with me. And they don't have to sell Jardinera and sandwiches for their life, but they are going to get the work ethic. They are going to get the appreciation for what this store means. And we're going to work on building some good little humans. And no matter what they do in their life, if they have that kind of like building block foundation, I'm going to be confident that they're going to be really good kids.
Yeah. So you still have a lot to do.
So long to go. A lot of sandwiches.
So much to pass down. And you know, as long as the business model remains the same, which is, you know, we sell sandwiches till the bread runs out, and then we go home to our families. It's actually something that we now say within Thought Team. We're far from making sandwiches, but it's such a great mentality. I want to close off with a little bit of a lightning round. We started to do this lightning round, and I was just so excited about some of these questions that the team came up for you. So are you ready?
I think so. You asked me some hard-hitting questions.
All right, so these are some quick fun
I'll try
ones.
to be succinct.
All right, so Jimmy, what are you reading, watching, or listening to today?
On the way home, I listen to like business podcasts. One of my favorite is Guy Raz, How I Built This. I think that's wildly inspiring. And then one of my customers just turned me on to, and I'm sorry if I get this wrong, 77 Flavors. I believe that's the name of the podcast. Okay. Local Chicago restaurants, community building. You might be interested in as well. I don't turn on my radio in my car. Sometimes I don't listen to anything just to kind of decompress. It's usually the quietest 45 minutes I have in a day. So that's, I'm unfortunately, I'm not a big reader, and I know I could probably better myself in my business if I am, but I'm a big podcast guy.
Got it.
And so I try to concentrate on that for business.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that. Was it 77 flavors? Or we'll
I'm
get
almost
we'll
100%
get the title
sure,
of it,
but
put
we'll
it in
get
the
you for
show
sure,
notes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is an interesting one. If you are ever standing at the front of the shop, whether it's making a sandwich or maybe talking to one of your employees or not, standing at the front of the shop, you're gazing out of the window. What's going through your mind?
How many more buildings could they get in this neighborhood?
Right?
What's going through my mind is like, what is going on outside,
Yeah.
and what's getting built and who's coming in, and how could we find a way to kind of fold them into this neighborhood and this community? And I see opportunity outside my door every single day.
Unbelievable opportunity, absolutely. And to know that not much has changed in here and everything's just kind of building around it has got to be really exciting.
It's cool. It's cool. You let them do their thing out on the street. You can't change within my four walls, and I will find a way to work around and with whatever gets built up around us.
I love that. Would you travel to the past or the future if you had a choice?
Past.
What would you do? Yeah, me too. Me too. Family. Yeah, 1,000%.
I want to sit down with a great grandpa that I never met, my dad, show you a cup of coffee, talk about how it was, talk about how it is. I'm sorry.
No, please.
That's what I would do in a heartbeat. I want to sit down with my great grandpa and my dad and have a long conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No apologies needed. That question often brings up the same response,
Yeah.
which is we would go back and we would have a small experience with somebody that we loved.
Yeah.
And that experience is something that we did maybe over and over and over, like having a cup of coffee.
Right.
And maybe you took it for granted, maybe you didn't, but you'd do anything to go back there.
Yeah.
And I think I told you the story last time that you were on the show, that one of the experiences that I had growing up involved my grandfather coming to pick me up and my twin sister. And he would, before going into my parents' house for Thanksgiving or Easter brunch, we would get in his car and we would go to the local Italian deli.
Yep.
And we would spend at least 45 minutes talking to the butcher and everybody that was walking around. And we would be eating cheese and artichoke hearts and provolone. I mean, it was, and then we would fill ourselves.
Right.
And we would leave. And on the way home, my grandfather would tell my sister Christina and I to not tell anyone how much we ate.
Right.
Because it would ruin dinner. And that was something that we did. I mean, I couldn't count how many times we did that. But I would do anything to go back and have that experience. And Jimmy, I got to tell you, walking in here as often as I do gives me a taste of that every single time. And I know I'm not the only person who tells you this, but that is the value that you provide your community. Is I get a piece of that when I walk in here, whether it's through the taste or the smells or even just the sounds or hugging your sister.
Yeah.
That's what I get. I go back and I get to have a little piece of that. Not the same, but I get to have a little piece of that. And I just appreciate you sharing a little bit about what goes through your mind and your heart as you think about the past as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff, man. I appreciate that.
When you're not eating Italian, what are you eating?
Good question. I really like Asian cuisine. I like cooking that. Because that's outside of my comfort zone and not, something that I could just kind of grab off my shelf anytime. And then straight American, what would you call it? American fare. Like I'm a big barbecue guy. Those are probably two of my favorite things to get into if I'm outside of Italian.
Love that. So think about something that you admire about yourself and finish this sentence. If the world were more like me, it would be blank.
I would hope to say about myself that it's thoughtful, a little bit more thoughtful about your interactions, what you say to people, how you treat people. I think that's in this time of day that might get a little overlooked, and people really kind of put themselves first but I think when you grow in business and in life, you're doing something for somebody else first and not thinking, what am I going to get out of this? You're doing it for the right reason. So I think I try to be like that. I'm not perfect. My wife might say different, but to be thoughtful, I think that goes a long way. And it's something that you can consciously do pretty easily. And I think that would make this place a little bit better place to be in.
I love that. And as somebody who's known you over the course of the last 10, 12 years, as a part of your community and somebody that relied on those conversations, walking up and down Randolph Street, in the middle of the pandemic, I can tell you, Jimmy, it's your thoughtfulness that attracts people to you, and not just your shop and your sandwiches, but it's what attracts people to you, the person. And I just want to thank you for that. That it's that thoughtfulness that has brought us together today, and that gives us the opportunity to connect with you in such unique ways. It's a very giving act, you giving up your time today and the few times that you've shared this show with us and this table with us. And more than ever, I just appreciate you. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. I appreciate your community with which we get to be a part of it. And here's to so many, many more years of building community together.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, what an incredible episode. It's our first one live on site, which is super, super exciting. We definitely have to do more of these. We are live every Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock Central. We come to all of our communities with such incredible leaders like Jimmy Graziano and others on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the social media channels. We particularly want to thank our community for joining us week after week after week to share the table, to share the memories, and to share the stories with business leaders and incredible humans like Jimmy and others. We will see you all next Thursday. Have a great rest of the week.